Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During a recent hearing in the House Homeland Security Committee, Michael McGarity, the Assistant Director in the FBI's Counterterrorism Division, explained that, quote, domestic terrorism is defined by statute as any act dangerous to human life that violates U.S. criminal laws and appears to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, or affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. The act in question must occur primarily within the jurisdiction of the United States. However, H.R. 5602, the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act of 2020, seems to have a much narrower definition of the crime, limiting the scope of its reporting mechanism to white supremacy groups and seemingly ignoring other perpetrators of domestic terror. While I agree we need more information on white supremacy groups in order to effectively prevent domestic terror in the future, I believe it is short-sighted to not also address other domestic terrorist groups that also pose a threat to our national security. That is why I'm filing this amendment to expand the scope of the review called for in H.R. 5602. There are three particular groups that are of increasingly concern to me and should be included in this bill: Antifa, the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, and anti-police. Antifa is a political protest movement comprising autonomous groups affiliated by their militant opposition to fascism and other forms of extreme right-wing ideology. Since 2016, we have seen a significant increase in their acts of domestic terror. Last June, during an attack on conservatives at a demonstration in Portland, an Antifa supporter brutally beat a man with a baton, leaving him with a concussion and cuts that required 25 staples to close. The attacker pled guilty to second-degree assault, and he was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Another Antifa attack in Washington, D.C., following the presidential inauguration, caused a riot and did more than $100,000 in damage to several businesses in the nation's capital. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement, the Southern Poverty Law Center lists 144 Black Hebrew Israelite organizations as black separatist hate groups because of their anti-Semitic and anti-white beliefs. Last December, a member of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement was involved in a prolonged firefight in Jersey City, New Jersey, that left 6 people dead, including 1 police officer. The violent rampage took place largely at a kosher supermarket where 3 bystanders were killed. This was an anti-Semitic hate crime targeted at Jewish people frequenting the market. The third organization, Anti-Police. In recent years, we have also seen an uptick in acts of domestic terror against police. Just last night, if you saw the news, an officer in Arkansas was just killed in the line of action, in the line of duty, and other law enforcement officers. As the son of a former sheriff and the brother of a law enforcement officer, there are instances of terror are of particular concern to me. As we all remember, last July, a heavily armed sniper gunned down police officers in downtown Dallas, leaving 5 of them dead. According to reports, he specifically set out to kill as many white officers as he could. In January of this year, cop-hating radicals wreaked havoc on New York City subways, vandalizing turnstiles, station walls, and buses to protest a police crackdown on turnstile jumping. Their tactics pose a significant risk to riders and employees. These groups pose a significant threat to the safety of our nation, and I hope this committee will use this opportunity to address these groups and ensure we are prepared to address their threats in the future. I would also like to add, in regards to each of those groups, I would ask unanimous consent that the following articles be added to the record. FoxNews.com, FoxNews.com, Antifa.
Without objection.
Can I read them? Antifa-linked defendant gets 6 years in brutal baton act in Portland. The other one is a New York Times article, suspect in Jersey City linked to Black Hebrew Israelite group. And the third one is a New York Times article, gunman storms NYPD precinct after firing at police van, wounding 2.
Without objection.
I yield back.